The HOA had my sister arrested for visiting me. Then I shattered the entire HOA from existing. What if you lived in a neighborhood where the rules were so strict, so oppressive, that your family members could be arrested for visiting you without permission? Where the people in charge seemed to have no regard for your freedom, your safety, or your well-being. Welcome to Willow Creek Estates, a neighborhood that looks perfect on the surface. The lawns are manicured, the houses are beautiful, and the people seem friendly. But behind the scenes, a different story unfolds. A story of power, of control, and of the dangers that arise when those in charge forget that they serve the people, not the other way around. I'm James, and I'll take you through the journey of how my family and I faced unimaginable challenges at the hands of our HOA. From the moment we moved in, we knew something was off. The HOA president, Karen, seemed to have an iron grip on the community. She dictated every aspect of our lives, from the color of our front doors to the type of plants we could have in our gardens. But it wasn't just about aesthetics, it was about control. And when my sister visited without registering with the HOA, the true nature of their power became terrifyingly clear. This documentary explores the dangers of unchecked power in homeowners associations and how one family's fight for justice can change everything. It's a story of courage, of resilience, and of the unbreakable bonds of family. So, join me as we explore the dark underbelly of Willow Creek Estates and discover how even in the face of overwhelming adversity, justice can prevail. Before I continue, tell me where you're watching from in the comment section. And don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button for more of these gripping stories. Have you ever felt trapped by rules that seem to serve no purpose other than to control? I'm James, a federal judge with a career spanning over 2 decades. I've seen my fair share of injustices, but nothing could have prepared me for the battles I would face in my own backyard. Growing up, I always believed in the importance of fairness and justice. My journey as a judge began with a simple principle: to uphold the law and protect the rights of all individuals. Little did I know that these principles would one day be tested in the most personal way possible. My family and I thought we had found the perfect home in Willow Creek Estates. It was a beautiful neighborhood with a sense of community that we had always wanted. But beneath the surface, we soon discovered that the HOA, led by Karen, had a stranglehold on the community. As a judge, I had dealt with complex legal cases, but nothing could have prepared me for the challenge of taking on a corrupt HOA. Willow Creek Estates is one of those neighborhoods that looks like it was plucked straight out of a fairy tale. The lawns are perfectly manicured. The houses are beautifully maintained, and the residents seem friendly and welcoming. But, as we soon discovered, appearances can be deceiving. Behind the friendly smiles and waving neighbors, there was a sense of unease, a feeling that something wasn't quite right. The neighborhood was designed to be a haven for families, with parks, playgrounds, and community events. However, the HOA's strict rules began to suffocate the very spirit of community that once thrived there. From the color of your front door to the type of flowers you could plant, every aspect of life in Willow Creek Estates was controlled by the HOA. Meet Karen, the HOA president who ruled Willow Creek Estates with an iron fist. Her strict adherence to rules was not just about maintaining order, it was about exerting control over every aspect of residents' lives. Karen was a force to be reckoned with, and anyone who dared to challenge her authority faced severe consequences. The HOA's bylaws were extensive and intrusive, covering everything from visitor registration to the type of pets you could own. But it wasn't just the rules themselves, it was the way they were enforced. Karen and her team seemed to take pleasure in catching residents off guard, fining them for the smallest infractions. It started with a visit from my sister. She decided to drop by unexpectedly, and that's when the nightmare began. The HOA had a rule that all visitors must be registered at least 72 hours in advance. My sister, unaware of this rule, was arrested on the spot. The turning point came when my sister faced arrest for visiting without registration. It was a moment of pure chaos, with police at our doorstep and my sister being taken away. But that was just the beginning. As we were dealing with the aftermath of her arrest, my sister went into early labor. The panic was real as we tried to rush her to the hospital. But the HOA's actions nearly prevented us from leaving. They insisted on documentation for the emergency vehicle, delaying us at a critical moment. Seeing my sister in distress, knowing that the HOA's actions could have serious consequences for her health, was a wake-up call. It made us realize that these rules weren't just annoying, they were dangerous. The delay could have been catastrophic, and it was then that we knew we had to take action. As we navigated the chaos of that moment, I couldn't help but think about the countless others who might be suffering in silence. How many families had faced similar challenges without the means to fight back? The thought fueled my determination to challenge the HOA and bring about change. How far should community rules go before they infringe on personal freedoms? Shouldn't the safety and well-being of residents be the top priority? As the situation with my sister's arrest unfolded, it became clear that the HOA's actions were not just about enforcing rules, they were about exerting control over every aspect of our lives. The fines escalated, and so did the threats. It was no longer just about my family. It was about the entire community living in fear of Karen's HOA. We began by reviewing the HOA's governing documents, looking for any loopholes or inconsistencies that could help us challenge their actions. But it soon became apparent that the HOA was not just acting outside the law, they were also selectively enforcing rules, targeting certain residents while letting others off scot-tangent-free. As a federal judge, I knew that knowledge was power. I used my expertise to dig deeper into the HOA's incorporation and bylaws. What I found was shocking. Many of their actions were technically illegal because their bylaws were not properly filed with the county. This meant that their fines, their arrests, and even their very authority to govern were all questionable. Armed with this information, I decided to take legal action. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to protect my family and our community from the HOA's overreach. I began by documenting every interaction with the HOA, every fine, every threat, and every instance of selective enforcement. This evidence would be crucial in building our case against them. With the evidence in hand, I initiated a county investigation into the HOA's activities. It wasn't just about my family anymore. It was about bringing justice to an entire community that had been living in fear. As the investigation began, the community started to rally behind us. Neighbors who had been too afraid to speak out began to share their own stories of harassment and intimidation by the HOA. The HOA, realizing they were losing control, tried to fight back. They threatened lawsuits and even attempted to silence us through intimidation tactics. But we were not deterred. We knew that we were fighting for something bigger than ourselves. We were fighting for the right to live without fear of unjust rules and tyrannical governance. As the community came together, we realized that we were not alone. There were others who had faced similar challenges with their HOAs, and together, we could make a difference. We started a petition, calling for reforms and greater accountability within HOAs. The response was overwhelming, with hundreds of signatures and stories pouring in from across the country. What would you do if faced with a situation where the rules seem to be used as weapons against you? Would you stand up and fight, or would you comply, hoping things might get better? As the county audit began, Eleanor and the HOA board found themselves facing serious legal repercussions. The audit revealed a pattern of financial mismanagement and selective enforcement of rules, which had been a hallmark of the HOA's operations under Eleanor's leadership. The community, now empowered by the knowledge that they were not alone in their struggles, began to rally against the HOA's overreach. Residents who had previously been too afraid to speak out started sharing their own stories of harassment and intimidation by the HOA. The media took notice, and soon, the story of Willow Creek Estates was making headlines. The pressure mounted, and eventually, the HOA board was forced to resign, paving the way for a new, more transparent leadership. The legal repercussions were severe. Eleanor faced charges related to her role in the HOA's mismanagement, and several board members were sued by homeowners for their part in the abuse of power. The HOA itself was restructured, with new bylaws and governance structures put in place to prevent similar abuses in the future. Looking back, it's clear that our fight against the HOA was not just about winning a legal battle. It was about reclaiming our community. It was about standing up against power abuse and ensuring that our neighborhood was a place where everyone felt welcome and respected. The themes of power abuse, community, and the importance of standing up for what is right are central to our story. When those in power forget that they serve the people, it's up to the community to remind them. Our experience shows that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, collective action can lead to real change. The HOA's actions had created a toxic environment where fear and intimidation ruled. But by coming together, we were able to create a new narrative of hope, resilience, and justice. Our story serves as a reminder that community governance should serve the people, not control them. In the end, my family's fight for justice led to the dismantling of the corrupt HOA and brought about a new era of freedom and fairness in Willow Creek Estates. The community is now thriving, with a renewed sense of unity and purpose. Our story is a testament to the power of standing up for what is right, even when it seems impossible. As we look to the future, it's crucial that we remember the lessons of our past. Community governance should always prioritize transparency, fairness, and accountability. When we work together to ensure these principles are upheld, we create stronger, more resilient communities where everyone can thrive. How can we ensure that community governance serves the people rather than controlling them? What steps can we take today to build more just and equitable communities? As we conclude this story, I want to leave you with a challenge. If you've ever faced a situation where rules seem to be used as weapons against you, or if you know someone who has, I encourage you to share your story. Your voice matters, and by speaking out, you can inspire others to do the same. Supporting efforts for community reform is crucial. Whether it's advocating for changes in your local HOA or participating in broader movements for justice, every action counts. Together, we can create communities that are fair, equitable, and just for all. If you're watching from a community that's facing similar challenges, don't feel alone. Reach out to your neighbors, start a conversation, and begin building a movement for change. Remember, it's not just about fighting against something, it's about building something better. As I reflect on our journey, I'm reminded of the importance of vigilance and collective action. In a just society, it's not just the leaders who must be accountable. It's also the people who must remain vigilant. We must always be willing to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult. Our story is a testament to the power of community. When we come together, we can achieve anything, but it requires effort, dedication, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. As we move forward, let's remember that justice is not a destination, it's a journey, and every step we take towards it matters. What will you do today to stand up for justice in your own community? Will you speak out against injustice, support a local cause, or simply start a conversation with your neighbors about creating positive change? Before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of courage and resilience. If you have a story to share or a question to ask, please leave it in the comments below. Together, we can create a world where justice and fairness are the guiding principles of our communities.